We are nearly at the end of 2025. As of this recording, there are only 16 days left in the year. And if you're watching this, I'm sure you are one of the many people who are seeking to make 2026 the year that they change their lives forever. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tyler Warlow, and I make videos on things I wish someone had taught me when I was younger. In today's video, I figured I would cover some basic steps that you can take to set yourself up for the New Year's to make it the best year of your life yet. If that sounds interesting to you, let's go ahead and jump into the video. If you're watching this video, I'm sure that you might fall into one of the following two camps. Either you're already thinking about the next year, you're excited, you've already set so many goals, like you either want to get rich or you want to get jacked, or maybe you want to find an amazing girlfriend this year. Or you're in the other camp, which is you're looking back at the previous year and you're beating yourself up for all the goals that you set for yourself in 2025 and never ended up seeing through. But if you truly want to actually make 2026 a successful year in terms of the goals that you're pursuing, there's a few things that you need to do first. And I often recommend to people that you first take a look back at that previous year and just review how you did. Instead, you're going to take a look back at your year and celebrate your wins and evaluate your losses. Look back at whatever system you use to track things. If you're a journaler, go back through your journal entries. If you're someone who writes down gratitude, look through your gratitude entries and evaluate the things that were big wins in your life. And even if you're not someone who does stuff like journaling or writing things down, there are ways that you can look back at the previous years and remember some of the big wins and memories that you have. For instance, I know that my wife loves to look back at her camera roll throughout the years and remember the good memories that she has. And I think that's a really useful thing for people to do because a lot of times we forget the big wins that we have. For instance, I got to go to multiple friends' weddings this year. I got to be in the wedding parties for multiple of them. And honestly, I really pride myself on that fact because it meant that I did a good job fostering those relationships. But honestly, if I hadn't taken a look back through the year, I kind of would have forgotten it and I would have focused a lot on the personal goals that I set that I didn't necessarily reach. But once you've gone ahead and celebrated those wins, let's take a look at the goals that you set for yourself. What did you achieve and what didn't you? And once you figure that out, take some time to evaluate the why. Why did you achieve the goals that you did and why didn't you achieve the goals that you didn't? Did you commit the time that you needed to in order to achieve a specific goal? Write down the things that both led to not accomplishing your goals and achieving your goals. This is going to help you to prepare for planning the next year. Once you've reviewed your previous year, the next thing that I highly recommend you do is you take some time to sit down, look at your life, and evaluate your satisfaction in different areas of your life. So on this channel, we tend to cover a vast array of topics from personal finance to health and fitness. But all the topics that we cover can fall into three general categories. These categories are going to be work, relationships, and health. We want to sit down and evaluate each of these areas of our lives and determine where exactly we are satisfied. If you want, you can break these down into more specific categories, but we're going to take each of these categories and rate it on a scale of satisfaction from 1 to 10. And I'll walk you through an example that I did for myself. First off, we can start with the work area in my life. I like to break this down into two separate categories, being professional and personal. What I mean by professional is obviously my career growth in my job, and my personal is the stuff that I choose to do in my own free time. So in the professional area, I'm going to give myself a personal satisfaction rating of 6. And this is because I had several things that I had hoped to achieve this year that unfortunately just didn't really pan out, such as getting a promotion. I'm also feeling a little stuck in that I'm not really learning a whole lot of new things this year, and therefore I'm starting to feel like I'm plateauing a little bit in my career growth when compared to my peers. So therefore I'm writing my satisfaction as a 6. And when it comes to the personal area, I'm also going to rate this as a 6. This is mainly because I let a lot of personal goals slip this year. I actually broke my streak of posting every single week for this YouTube channel, and honestly, I was a little disappointed in myself for doing that. and I just haven't committed the time that I needed to see a lot of my goals through. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a lot of great things happen this year, like I mentioned earlier. But in terms of holding myself personally accountable, in terms of the work that I was doing, I felt like I didn't do the greatest. So therefore, I was a little dissatisfied and gave myself a 6. So the next category that I like to look at is going to be relationships. And I like to break this down into 3 smaller categories: friends, family, and my personal relationship. In terms of the relationships that I have with my friends, I gave myself a 7 because I've made a lot of new friends this year and I've had a really great time getting to know them. But a lot of my previous relationships have also had a lot of distance grown in them. I feel like I haven't necessarily made the time to support those older relationships, and I also haven't gotten to know these new friends well enough yet where I really feel to be a part of the friend group. But I'm having a lot of fun making these new friends, so I decided to give myself a satisfaction rating of 7. Now, when it comes to my personal relationship, I have a satisfaction rating of 8. If anything could be done here, it's just that I could set aside more time for our relationship and making time for us. I have a tendency to do a lot of things at once, and I feel like I could put aside more time for my personal relationship. When it comes to my satisfaction rating with my family, I'm going to give myself a rating of 9. Now, I would not say that me and my family are extremely close like a lot of other people I know, but I'm pretty happy with the relationship that we have. I look forward to the times that I get to see my family, and we really don't have that much drama or chaos happen when we do see each other. And the final category that we're going to take a look at is going to be health. Personally, I like to look at both mental and physical health, and I know a lot of other people might also add spiritual to this. I'm personally not a spiritual person, so I don't feel the need. But on the mental health side of things, I'm going to give myself a satisfaction rating of 10. I've personally been going to therapy since last year, and I feel like it's helped me learn a lot of new things about myself, so I'm feeling pretty happy with where my mental health is. On the physical side of things, I feel like I'm going to give myself a rating of 8 because while I'm not the strongest that I've ever been, I've found a new community that I'm really enjoying being a part of, and I'm getting to learn new movements that I'm having a lot of fun with. On top of that, just being a part of the community has been a really good experience, and it's been really encouraging, which has allowed me to keep up the motivation and the excitement to keep going. Personally, the reason I don't rate this higher is because I would like to start making some progress in these areas, and I personally want to put in more work to see that progress. But that's a small taste of what that would be like. I would hope that you maybe take a little bit more time than what I just did to go through and evaluate those categories and why you're giving them the satisfaction rating that you're giving them. You can break those down into whatever subcategories you personally feel best fit your life. That was just an example that I chose to give for mine. But the reason that we go through and evaluate our satisfaction in all these different categories is you're next going to want to reevaluate your priorities. Having evaluated your satisfaction, I hope it's helped you to determine some areas that you can either relax on or give some added attention. Something to consider is that if you have high satisfaction in an area, you might want to just continue doing what you're doing in that area because it is making you happy right now. If you're having low satisfaction, that might be an area where you need to focus on or switch some things up to help bring yourself some more happiness or satisfaction. This can also help you to evaluate whether or not you're ready to start focusing on some other goals. For instance, if you're pretty happy with your current fitness level, this might be a time where you can start scaling back a little bit in terms of the number or amount of workouts that you're doing, because it's a lot easier to maintain a level of fitness than it is to build it. So taking that into consideration, I would next sit down and write down some goals for these different areas of your life. Once you've come up with those goals, take a second to figure out why you want to pursue each one of those goals and make sure you write that down. If you're not really able to come up with a reason, you might want to consider that maybe it's not really a goal that you have for yourself. Maybe it's a goal that you've put together just because of things that you've seen online on social media, or maybe due to something like family pressures. But if you can't come up with a really solid why for why you've put together a goal that you want to pursue, then it might not be worth pursuing. because you might end up dedicating a lot of time to this goal that you really didn't care about in the first place and isn't making you happy to pursue. Now, you want to take all the goals that you might have put together and narrow those down to a list of only 3 to 5. And this is because a classic mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to the New Year's is setting a bunch of different goals. And unfortunately, when you spread yourself too thin among all these different goals, all these different life changes, it's kind of hard to stay consistent with that. What you should aim to do is try to build one thing at a time and really give it the focus and attention it deserves to build towards that goal. To make real progress towards a goal, you need to be able to focus. And with that is the next tip that I'm going to give. And it's going to be that you need to be willing to accept that there is not going to be balance in every single aspect of your life. I know it's a really big thing to have like work-life balance, but in reality, it's not truly a thing. The reality of a situation is that balance is like a seesaw. It tends to go back and forth. It's not always perfectly 50-50. Sometimes you're going to be heavily focused in one area, and another time you're going to be heavily focused in a different area. It's rarely going to be that your energy is evenly split between everything that you want to do. And you need to learn to embrace that and be okay with that if you want to see real progress. An example that I can give from my own life is when I first got out of college and started my new job, I lost a bet where I had to run a half marathon. And so I took that on and started a training program. But the crazy thing about that was it took so much time. The amount of time that you had to do the long runs, to train for that, really didn't leave a whole lot of time for anything else. And so I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my friends or my wife. So when I completed that goal of the half marathon, I decided that it wasn't something that I personally wanted to continue pursuing, despite it being good for my health, because I felt like it was impacting my relationships. And I really missed getting to go to social events with my friends or just spend some one-on-one time with my wife. So that was a conscious decision that I made to not pursue something further like a full marathon, despite it fitting into my goals of health and fitness. So just remember, it's very rare to live a 100% balanced life. Things tend to ebb and flow around the different things that you want to prioritize at that time. So go back to that list of 3 to 5 goals and choose 1 or 2 of them to really just focus on for the next few months. If you're able to achieve them or your priorities change, that's when you can switch to a different goal. But give those goals the attention and focus and time that they deserve for you to be able to reach them. And finally, just be patient. The fact that you're putting in the work now to improve yourself is already setting yourself leagues ahead of many, many other people. And a lot of people have the expectation that they'll start achieving things and big things will come to them right away. But success is very rarely seen overnight. Even the people that appear to have become successful overnight usually worked in silence for a few years before that success really started taking off. Aim to focus on consistently getting small wins, working towards those goals on a daily basis. Because as James Clear put in his book, Atomic Habits, just getting 1% better every single day will lead to you being nearly 37 times better by the end of a single year. So don't expect big changes overnight. Be patient and be consistent, because that's where you're going to see the real changes come from. With that being said, I hope to see you back here again in a year with you having achieved the goals that you set for yourself and worked towards living the life that you wanted. But that's going to bring us to the end of today's video. If you found it to be helpful or informative at all, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to join me along in this self-improvement journey. If you're interested in more videos, check out this one right here that YouTube is recommending for you. If you're interested in my most recent stuff, be sure to check out this video right here. But until the next time, this is Tyler Warlow, signing off.